Shai Alexander is one of the great offensive players we've seen in a very, very long time for the NBA. The NBA should be very excited for the growth of this young kid and where the NBA could be going with some of the young stars that they have. You got a chance to see a couple of them. Anthony Edwards, as much as people don't like how he plays in the playoffs, he's a special player. Shai Alexander, we're watching it. He is a special player. Tyrese Halliburton, a lot of Knicks fans don't like him. He is a special player. Jalen Brunson, who's been sensational since he's gone to the Knicks and taken over as the starting point guard for the Dallas Mavericks, has been sensational, and he's a great young player right now for the NBA. There are quite a few really good guards that we have just mentioned right there. All those guys are guards, 2 or 1s. And that's what the NBA is starting to deliver right now. We're getting the chance to see. In the 90s, it was really about the bigs. It was about the power forwards, and it was about, obviously, the centers. That's what they built around. You talk about Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, David Robertson, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal, and on and on and on and on. It's not like that anymore. And if you're not a big that can't shoot, the NBA is not going to catch up to that kind of player anymore. That's why Mitchell Robinson is to me, a one-dimensional player. That's the way teams are going to look at him. Shai Alexander what makes Shai Alexander so friggin' special is what he does on the basketball court. We talk about Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, guys that could play back and forth, defense and offense. Shai Alexander doesn't hide away from it. As much as we've seen Tyrese Halliburton offensively and defensively over the last couple of series, how good he's been, he falls apart in certain games. He can't defend certain guys because he's not good enough defensively. Shai Alexander, no matter who's standing in front of him, what guard is standing in front of him, he's going to be able to defend against them because he's a shutdown defender. That's what's special about Shai Alexander. And Shai Alexander, with what we've seen with OKC and what the Thunder like to do, they like to run the offense through him. But when Shai Alexander is getting double teamed and sometimes moving around the perimeter, he opens up the court. He opens up the court for guys like Dort and guys like Williams, guys like that can open and spread the offense up, where some of these young players that they have right now are showing you why they've been one of the best teams in all of the NBA, really, for the last 2 years. But watching these two games, and I know everybody was shocked. We were doing our show last week on Thursday, game 1, and how it happened. This is the same thing that happened to the New York Knicks. Same thing that happened to the Cleveland Cavaliers when Halliburton came back and won the game. And Halliburton didn't even win the game when he hit that neck-crushing, dance around the basketball court when he beat the Knicks. It was in overtime when he beat him. But nevertheless, the Knicks had a 14-point lead with 2.5 minutes left of the game, and Halliburton and Naismith came back on this display of just unbelievable offense. The Pacers need to be slowed down. And what did OKC do in that game, in game number 2? They slowed them down. And Tyrese Halliburton, early in the game, made a lot of mistakes. A guy that doesn't really make passing blunders. He made 4 or 5 mistakes going all the way into the fourth quarter. When Halliburton is not making mistakes in the game, he's keeping his team close in the game. And when they're doing that, and they're within 9 to 10 points, the Pacers are a dangerous team. But really, in game number 2, it was dominated by OKC. They didn't give them a breath. The Pacers had no way of breathing from the first quarter all the way to the fourth quarter. The only reason why the game was even close is because the OKC Thunder, with 6 minutes left of the game, took all their starters out. They were up at one point in the fourth quarter by 20-something points. So it's not like the game was even close. And I predicted this to happen on Sunday night, because I do believe the OKC Thunder is a much better, more talented team than Pacers. But again, it doesn't matter about talent. It matters who wants it more. Who's going to go out there and make the shots, make the big plays. And that's something that we could say about Rick Carlisle and the way he coaches. When his team doesn't play well one game, the next game they transition and play a different style of basketball. I expect to see that in game number 3. And again, going back to Shai Alexander has been the best player in the league besides Jokic all season long. It hasn't even been close. Jokic, I believe, was the MVP of the league, but the NBA don't like to really give it to back-to-back guys, especially guys as good as Shai Alexander, that some people could say that Shai should have been up for the MVP last year. what makes this so fun to watch is Shai Alexander is not quoting himself after the game that he's the best player. He's not going out there after the game and saying and complimenting himself and patting himself on the back. He says, I wouldn't be here today and we wouldn't have won this game if everybody wasn't playing at the top level of their game. That's what's special about Shai Alexander. That's what you expect from your superstar players, that you're going to back those players, your teammates out there. And when you're losing, you take responsibility for losing those games. And Shai's not going to say that I was off in the game, because Shai Alexander is going to give you 30 to 35 points a game. That's the type of player he is. That's how talented he is. And that's how, to me, the dominant player he could be week in and day out and game in and game out. I also say this. Tyrese Haliburton at the end of the game, it to me shows me why a lot of teams do not like him. After the game, and by the way, I don't want to hear what his father has to say. Obviously, the NBA is not interviewing his father, but he was on a bunch of different, radio shows after the game on Monday, and he was saying like, oh, my son didn't, he wasn't getting the calls, this, and that. It's always an excuse for the Haliburtons. The problem with Tyrese Haliburton is he needs to take a step back. He needs to hear himself out and realize when you're winning, you're going to get all the compliments because you're the superstar. When you're losing, you got to take responsibility for your bad game. Your reason why your team lost is because you didn't have a good game. You didn't do what you were supposed to do like you did in game one when you needed to hit the big shot. That was why you lost the game. Stop blaming other people. And he didn't really blame anybody, but it seems like he doesn't want to take responsibility, Speedy. And that, to me, is the problem right now, and I think is going to affect this team, win or lose in this series, this team to grow and be an NBA champion.
This series is playing out so far just like I thought it would. Halliburton is, can you remember a guy? Has he done it in every round? Or is it 3 straight rounds?
It's the most since like 95. I think he has like 5 or 6, I think.
It's unbelievable.
He did it back-to-back games. 3 games.
Right. So three straight game ones. Is that right?
3,
so
and they beat them all, and all 3 games happened within 5 seconds. So all
absolutely
game one,
crazy.
game-winning
The Knicks
shots.
one was ridiculous.
Well, he didn't win that.
This one might have been more ridiculous.
That was a game tying.
Well,
yeah.
It would have been wonderful if he did the choke and then he lost the game. I would have loved every second of that. It didn't happen. Power to him. He's still going.
If Karl Anthony Towns hit his free throws, it would have been over for them. But again,
if the refs actually called a goaltending like they should have, maybe.
We'll take a day off from talking about how I think the Knicks are going to get rid of Karl Anthony Towns this offseason. But I really think that OKC is a significantly better team than Indiana. And I think the only thing they have going for them is Halliburton's heroics and Carlisle being just, I think, showing off that he's either the best coach or a top 2, top 3 coach in the NBA, and people should stop disrespecting him that way because he is that good. That being said, Dagno's really good as well, and he was very smart in how they decided to, okay, Halliburton, if you're not going to go take your shot, we'll give you shots, and just you'll pass it to somebody who's covered. And they just decided to put the full court press on everyone else on the court except for Halliburton and just play him kind of straight up, which is what teams had not done in the past. And guess what? Those guys weren't open and they weren't hitting shots and they weren't able to play as fast-paced as they like to play. Put that on top of the fact they have Lou Dort and Alex Caruso and Shea hounding them on defense, 3 of the best wing defenders, guard defenders in entirety of basketball. They don't have much of a chance, I don't think.
I disagree
with you.
They
stole a game.
I
disagree. Think they led for 0.3 seconds, and it was the final 0.3 seconds of game 1. But that's the entirety that they've led in the first 2 games of the season, of the series. That's not exactly a good plus-minus differential, right? So Indiana plays that high-paced game. They have guys like Nesmith. You mentioned Nesmith. A good rebounding guard. He gets really streaky, hot from 3. And he plays good defense. He'll go over screens. I wish the Knicks had more guys that did that. I think it would have been a different story. They had a guy like Nesmith. That being said, the 3 guards I just mentioned are like kryptonite for Nesmith. Mathurin did nothing. You saw Shea doing the too small to Mathurin after he hit a shot over him. Mathurin is out of his element, and those are 2 Canadians. They know each other. They know each other pretty well from that Canadian team. So I don't think it's going to be close. Chet hasn't even gotten going, by the way, in those first 2 games, because he does have the task of handling Siakam. He does have to handle some of that. Siakam is a load, we know that. But I don't think it's going to be close